Good evening, everyone. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, and I'm your host, Joe Abadi. I want to thank Jordan Woodworth and Susie, everyone that helps put the show together. Chelsea, of course, as well, who helps bring the show to you every week. And we've got a great one lined up for you tonight. We're going to get down to the starting line, and I'm going to tell you more about it. And the next time, try this segment, we're going to be talking about some eBay tips that I think you're going to enjoy. In the Moto Showcase, we take a look at a Kawasaki G31M sent to us by Tom McAllister. And here's the problem segment. We've got 3 or 4 different things going on, including some tips on bent handlebars. In the What's It Worth segment, we take a look at a 1973 CZ250 that recently sold on eBay. I think you're going to be surprised at the price and the condition. The 522 project continues. We're going to be showing you what we're doing with these side panels. Don't forget to share the show. A random winner tonight is going to get a nice package from me, compliments of Russell Waters and AMSOIL. You're going to have a choice of a couple of different lubricants, maybe some chain lubricants, things like that. There's going to be a few different things in the box. So reach down to your phone, or if you're on your computer, please share the show with some friends. A random winner a little bit later on in the show is going to win something really nice. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, type in AMSOIL. Get involved, start commenting there on YouTube. We're going to be using some of those comments and some of those watchers as well when we decide, or when Susie picks a random winner. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can watch all of our shows from Vintage Motocross Q&A and Vintage Motocross Radio in HD. If you subscribe, you get a little bell thing that goes off, just like you see there on the screen. Tells you when we're going to be coming on the air. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I want to thank our sponsors, Preston Petty Products, Vinco, Keep the Ride Going, Full Circle Racing, AMSOIL, and of course our latest sponsor, Nightmare Racing, the finest Kawasaki reproduction plastic in the world. Mark Hildebrand, thank you. Next time, try this. I've got something a little bit different for you tonight. It's not really a mechanical tip. I want to talk to you a little bit about eBay. Now, many people use Facebook, and people do use Facebook for selling and buying things as well as Craigslist, but eBay is still your broadest audience. What I have found out over the years, the best way to use eBay is with a buy it now or best offer listing. Auctions are great, but they're not really all that fantastic. It can be a waste of time. It could also cost you more money in the long run because you have to relist. What I would recommend if you're selling parts or a whole motorcycle on eBay is to use the buy it now with the best offer option, and make sure when you put your listing up that you only accept payments and purchases from people who have PayPal. This way you remove any doubt that someone's going to pay you. You can get a deposit right away if it's a motorcycle, or if it's a part. Once they hit buy it now, they're committed to purchase that item. They can use PayPal to pay you. No fuss, no muss. The whole process is over. A lot of people are using eBay these days. As you can see, I've completely lost creative control to the show. Maybe some of the wives that are watching like stuff like this. I don't know. But if you're on your computer and you're using eBay, use the buy it now or best offer option and list it that you only accept PayPal. It's a really, really good idea. It's the best way to do it. And if you're concerned about, well, did I get more money for the part, or maybe I should have waited, go on eBay and look at other things that have sold. Go do an advanced search on an item that you have. You could see some that have sold, maybe some that didn't sell. Also something to keep in mind when you have something in your shop, whatever it may be. If you're wondering about a price, what I do a lot of times is I say to myself, if somebody walked in my shop with some cash, how much would I sell it for? Put it on eBay at that price and maybe a few bucks more. So next time you're selling something on eBay, which really still is the broadest audience, try that. Tom McAllister, who is our sponsor for Full Circle Racing, sent in a bike to us this week. It's a 1971 Kawasaki G31M Centurion. Tom did a beautiful job on this bike, and I'm going to read off some of the things that he has accomplished with it while Jordan goes through some of the pictures. It's got an original tank that was scanned by Fusion Graphics, so they were able to recreate the one sheet that emulated the factory graphics, which has a little variable thing to it in the stripes. It's got the original gas cap, which was all buffed out. The seat pan was vapor blasted and repainted. He bought his foam and cover from AMS. The front forks are original and rebuilt by Hata. The rear shocks are 044 Japan 70M. I believe they are original, Tom says. The pipe is original stock, restored by Randy Rockefeller. The hubs, triple clamps, forks, and sliders are all aluminum. They are all been vapor blasted by Matt Harlow. The rims were rebuilt, of course, by Full Circle Racing. They have Buchanan spokes in them. OEM rubbers provided by Cycle Barn. Tires are Dunlop K70, front and rear, and the number plates were fabricated by Carl Landreth Products, who was absolutely an aluminum wizard. Tom McAllister, I want to thank you so much, not only for your sponsorship for the show, but also for sending in this beautiful Kawasaki G31M. I have your address, Tom, and I'm going to be getting you a nice sticker pack, compliments of fastguystuff.com. Next week on the show, we've got a really nice 1975 Honda CR125, okay? I just wanted to give you a little heads up on that. It's a really nice looking bike. I'll be showing you that one next Wednesday in the Moto Showcase. Here's the problem. We've got some great questions that came in this week. I'm really looking forward to reading them to you and see if we can solve some problems for some of the viewers out there. Jordan, what do we have up first? Robert Oscar Pomeroy, where can I get wide foot pegs from a 1974 Honda CR125? Robert, I found a picture of a bike that Dallas Nyblad built for Brock Glover. Here's a picture of the pegs right there that you're talking about. They're available from PFR. So if you look up PFR, you'll find them. Also, Dave Boydston from AMS Racing does sell those pegs. So that's where you want to go to get nice wide pegs for your 74 Honda CR125. The bike looks amazing in that picture. Sal Scarpa, Joe, I have these KX handlebars that I love, but they're bent. Can they be straightened? Sal. If they're bent from where the crossbar is, okay, the cross brace out, if they're tweaked a little bit there, you might be able to heat them up and bend them back. Put them in a vise. You can get a pipe bender. You might be able to straighten them out, or put a bar on there or a bigger pipe over it. You can heat it up with a torch. You might be able to bend it back. If the bars are tweaked, like when you look down at them, if the crossbar is not lined up with the bar across the bottom, then they're kind of tweaked. You're probably not going to be able to salvage it. Now, I will tell you this, Sal. I know you've been watching the show a long time. You're sending questions. You're always sharing the show. I have some bars like this. If you want them, I know they're straight. Send me your address. I'll get them to you. So, yes, they can be straightened if they're bent toward the end. If they're tweaked, unlikely. And really, they're not that uncommon a bar. I really wouldn't be too concerned with it. Sal, thanks for sending the question. Robert Curé, Joe, what are your thoughts on Simon's forks, Fox forks, the cost, performance, etc.? I'll tell you this, Robert. Here's the situation where I would use those items. The Fox forks, number one. If I was building a Fox replica bike like a Honda, like this one you see right here, where I had the swing arm, the Fox shocks, I would try and go for the whole ball of wax, as they say, and I would go for Fox forks too if I was building a replica of that bike. You're going to pay around $3,500 for those forks. So if you're replicating a bike and you want it to look like this one in the picture, then maybe I could see it. And if it's within your budget, they're going to cost you about $3,500. Now, Fox bikes also use Simon forks at one time. You'll see it on the next slide right here. Here they are on that Suzuki. Simon's forks are great. And if you're going to build a replica of a bike like that, I would go for Simon's forks. You're probably going to pay around $1,500 for it. Now, if you are not too concerned with authenticity for the money, you cannot beat a set of 43 millimeter Honda forks from a 1983 CR250 or 480. They're 43 millimeter, just like this. And you want to look for them with the hub or a front rim with them, because it comes with a double leading shoe front brake. Amazing stopping power for a drum brake, and they're 43 millimeter. If you combine those with a set of emulators from Racetech, you're going to have a set of forks that performs better than any fork prior to it. I'm not saying that Fox forks are not great. They are, but they're $3,500. Simon's forks, again, $1,500. If you're building replicas of those bikes, go for those forks, spend the money. If you're looking for the best performance and the most bang for your buck, you can't beat those Honda forks, 43 millimeter from the 1983 250 or 480. put in a set of Race Tech emulators, you're going to have yourself one of the best performing front suspensions you'll ever have. And I hope Steve Simons and Bob Fox aren't watching my show tonight. If they are, they'll understand, I'm sure. Thanks for the question, Robert. Another question from Robert Oscar Pomeroy. There are many aftermarket throttles available. Which would you recommend, and would a Whirlpool style be a good choice? Yeah, especially if you're racing, Robert. I would strongly recommend a Whirlpool throttle. You want to keep that cable as close to you as possible. When you get into the turns with a bunch of other guys, you don't want some big old cable sticking out there, possibly getting tangled up in somebody else's handlebars. On this Montesa right here, you could see where the Whirlpool throttle is on there, and the cable just goes right in front of the crossbar pad, neatly tucks down behind the front number plate. It's out of the way, and it's not going to cause any problems. A lot of your bikes came standard, like this RM125M, with a cable that was a little longer, so it would move more freely, and it sticks out there a bit. You get involved in a race, and you have a cable sticking out like that, it could cause a little bit of a problem. You get into some turns with another rider, you get locked up. So I would recommend getting a Whirlpool throttle, and I would recommend getting it from Motion Pro. Motion Pro's got a great website, thousands of items for sale, including a Whirlpool throttle like this. You can get the cable from them as well. So yes, Robert, go to Whirlpool and get it from Motion Pro. What's it worth? So a 1973 CZ250 this week on eBay that I thought was a really, really great deal at $3,378. I'll tell you a little bit about that bike as Jordan goes through the slides. The engine was completely rebuilt. It had a second over piston and ring, which of course are brand new, all new bearings and seals. The cases have been polished. It has an electronic ignition. It's got a new carb. The frame has been powder coated. It had new rims and spokes, Bridgestone tires, tubes and rim bands. Got a new GP style seat and seat foam. And overall, the bike looked phenomenal. The fork legs were polished. It had new seals, new dust caps. It's got the original stock pipe on it too, and rear shocks. Now, while that pipe the pipe might not be too bad as far as performance goes, but you don't see stock pipes in that condition too often. The rear shocks are a nice touch too. You probably want to change them if you were going to race, but they came with that bike for $3,378, 1973 CZ250. Now, I want to mention this. I thought the bike was a good deal at that price because it wasn't too long ago where you couldn't really find a bike that was raceable for $2,500. And why this bike might not be a show bike with the hubs painted and certain little things about it, this is a great deal for a race bike, especially with the rebuilt forks, new tires, the rims were done. It shows really, really nicely, and I'm sure it performs as good as it looks. Now, as I was saying, it wasn't long ago you couldn't find a bike for $2,500, $2,700 that you can go to the track with. Those times are changing. You're seeing bikes go for a little bit more money now. And why I thought this was a great deal at $3,378 is it seemed to me that the price of certain bikes, especially bikes like this, are around $3,500, $3,500 to $4,000 for a real nice vintage 250 racer. So I thought this was a good deal, very reliable bike, a 73 CZ250. And I thought it was worth at least that. Jordan, thanks for that little slideshow you put together. And that's it for the CZ 250 this week.
Welcome to the next installment of the 522 Project. This week's installment is brought to you by Nightmare Racing, the finest reproduction Kawasaki plastic on the planet. And speaking of plastic, on the 522 Project this week, we're going to be talking about how to cut those vents in the way they're found on the 1974 RC 125. When I first began to work on this, there were a couple of different things I was thinking about. I began by using this stencil to mark my lines with a Sharpie like you see here, and it was on the plastic. The problem was I couldn't really tell on the plastic until I had all the lines if I liked it or not, and 2 times I didn't. So I then took a piece of paper like this, and I taped it onto my number plate. I marked it with the Sharpie the same way I told you in the beginning there with this little stencil, and then I cut them out and marked on the plastic with the Sharpie. I liked it, but I wasn't that thrilled with it. The lines weren't that sharp the way I would really like them. So I discovered that some 1/4-inch masking tape like this would be the hot ticket to make this work for me. So alongside the black lines that I had made, I used this masking tape to give me a little extra insurance when I go to cut in those those slots into the number plate. I'm going to be doing that with a RotoZip, and to ensure that the tops and the bottoms of those slots are exactly round the way I want them to be, I'm going to drill some holes at the very top and the very bottom. I'm going to show you how I do that right now. I want to make sure that the ends of where my slots are nice and round at the top and the bottom before I go to mill away the rest of the plastic. So I'm going to do that with a drill. I'm going to drill a hole at the top and the bottom of each one of these slots.
As I was working on this, it didn't really come out as good as I wanted it to. Here's what it came out like. And it's okay, but they weren't as accurate. They didn't quite look as well as they look, as good as they look on the factory bike. So honesty is always the best policy on the show, and I try and be as honest as I can every week. These slots came out okay, but they were a little too wide. I'm going to try it again, and I think where my problem really began was using the RotoZip. It doesn't have a speed control on it. I should have done it with the Dremel, which I do not own a variable speed Dremel. I could have probably done it with a die grinder, and I probably should have. So it didn't come out that bad. It's okay, but it isn't exactly what I wanted. But anyway, you understand now how I attempted that, and I'm going to try it again. And in the future, we'll come back with two really good side panels that I'm really happy with. Jordan, thanks for editing that little video we made, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. In the product spotlight tonight, Preston Petty, is it not? There it is, Preston Petty. We are an authorized dealer for Preston Petty products. And this week, the Preston Petty special is 10% off across the board on everything they have on their website. And that goes for fenders, number plates, everything they have that's in stock, grips, shirts, you name it. It's 10% off across the board. And Paul is throwing in a t-shirt, free t-shirt, to anybody who purchases anything from Preston Petty this week. You want to get the right size shirt. So after you place your order, Paul is probably going to call you, or you can call him, tell him what size t-shirt you wear. You're going to get a free t-shirt and 10% off this week from Preston Petty products. Paul Standard, thank you very much for all your support. Don't forget to share. We're going to go to commercial break right now. When we come back from that commercial break, Susie's going to be in here, and she's going to tell us who our random winner is for that nice AMSOIL giveaway. Jordan, let's take a look at that commercial.
Classic and vintage dirt bikes are more than a hobby. It's not just about the ride. It's about the work that goes in. The work that keeps you connected to the ride. It's about bringing the bike back to life and doing it with your own hands. It's about the adrenaline and adventure. And when it comes to putting all the pieces together, only Vinco knows the bikes and parts the way you do. Vinco, keep the ride going.
I want to thank Kurt Leverton and Vinco for all their support. Susie has come in with the winner, Robert Charles Leities. I think it's pronounced Leities, or Leities. Luyties. Robert Charles Leities, you are the random winner. And if you contact us, we're going to give you your choice of what AMSOIL product you want. It could be chain lube, it could be premix oil, it could be four-stroke oil. They've got a bunch of different things. I'm also going to be throwing in a hat, a shirt, and a couple of other things. Robert, thank you for watching the show. Contact us again, or I'll send you a message through Facebook. We'll get your address. Let me know what you want, and I'm going to get it right out to you. Thanks for watching the show, Robert. This week in motocross history, you know, I missed this last week, and I meant to bring it in, but the dates were kind of off. On August 8th, 1982, Brad Lackey captured the 500cc World Championship. That was August 8th, 1982. 2 weeks later, Daniel Laporte won the 250cc World Championship. Of course, both guys were the first Americans to do that. So this week, sort of 2 weeks in motocross history, I want to congratulate and everyone to remember Brad Lackey and Daniel Laporte for their World Championships in 1982, 38 years ago. This week, way to go, champs. Also, today, somebody special celebrates a birthday, none other than John Penton. 95 laps around the sun for John Penton. Such a historic figure in the off-road world. John Penton, of course, a fabulous enduro rider, creator of the Penton motorcycle, and so much more. So happy birthday, John Penton, wherever you may be. Just how I see it. Over the past few years, on Facebook, other little forums that I often join, you'll see people talk about vintage bikes, where the prices are going, and what's happening. Age comes in to the equation many, many times, and you'll hear people say, after us guys, who are, I guess, between 60 and 70, when we're gone, garage is going to be full of these old bikes, nobody's going to want them. Well, they were saying that 8, 9, 10 years ago, after that big boom in 2008. Now, recently, I'm seeing a boom again, and I'm seeing the CR250 Elsinore's and a few other bikes go for prices that they were going for back in 2008, $8, $10, $12,000. We had an OSA on here just a couple of weeks ago in the What's It Worth segment, went for $12,000. Yes, it had a Joe Barger rear suspension on it, but my point is that there are still many people interested in the old bikes. And even when maybe we're out of it, a younger batch of people I think are going to come in, and I think that's still going to be there. I think it's still going to be there, and more guys are going to get involved with collecting vintage bikes. When I go to Vegas every year, I see guys who are 40, 50 years old. They've been very successful. They have the financial wherewithal, and they're buying bikes from the early 1900s, 1920s, 1930s, bikes that were built long before they were born. I think in time, if this sport gets more exposure, if the vintage motocross hobby as a whole gets more exposure, you're going to see more people interested in the older bikes, and that's just how I see it. Tomorrow on our Facebook page, Vintage Motocross Q&A, I'll put up a post about this, and I'd like to get more feedback from some of the members in the group and see what they have to say. In the announcements tonight, Jordan, what do we got coming up first? Vintage Motocross Radio. This past week we had our pre-recorded interview with Yaroslav Falta, and I think Jordan has a couple of sound bites here for us. Let's take a listen to that.
You're on the Dupla team, you're racing for CZ. You're able to go to other countries and race GPs now. However, you can't take your family with you. How did he get you to see some of the other countries that he went to in Europe?
So it is very complicated, and for anyone who never lived in socialism in the communist country, it is really hard to explain. It's really hard to understand. So traveling to the West was not allowed. Even under the Dukla umbrella, we still had to have special visas, special approvals to go, and then upon the return, we would have to fill forms. Who did we talk to? Why did we talk to them? How long and where and whatnot? So one of the things that really took out from us was traveling abroad to GPs, and instead of just cutting through Germany to France from one GP to another, we would have to trek back thousands and thousands of kilometers to renew visa to a different country, get an approval, and go there. So we lost a lot of time on the road just to get paperwork from A to B. It was a trip to France where they smuggled me and my mom covered with sleeping bags. That was after Dad left Dukla. After '84, he went private with Stodulka and Novacek, and they were on their own, so they were not risking the Dukla spot anymore. However, they were, risking their family. So what happened was we still had to get visas and documentation filled in for Falta, Novacek, and Stodulka to go race. But my mom and I did not get visa all the way to France. we only went to Western Germany. So Falta was traveling with mom and me. I was 4 years old. My mom was pregnant with my brother, and Stadulka was traveling with his wife and 2 kids. Well, when they made it across Germany, close to France, they saw that the border patrol is not really doing their job, or it was the middle of the night or whatnot. So they took a chance and say, let's play hide and seek, and they would cover pregnant mom in sleeping bags. They threw. I remember being in a stack of tires playing hide and seek with a blanket over me. I remember the blanket stank with gasoline, and so we were two cars. And Stodulka smuggled his wife and his 2 children to France, and we end up having a wonderful vacation in southern France for 2 weeks. And then they lost me there. So that was Parents of the Year.
Fascinating stories from Jaroslav Falta with his daughter Martina, of course, translating for us. When you get a moment, please go listen to what life was like in motocross, racing GPs behind the Iron Curtain, Jaroslav Falta. This Sunday, my guest will be Jim Hollywood Holly. I'm really looking forward to speaking to Jim this Sunday, learning more about his career as a mini cycle racer and going on to be one of the first world champions in Supercross. And of course, today, Jim, a great host of Race Day for Supercross, when Supercross is on during that season. So Jim Holly this Sunday at 11 o'clock on Vintage Motocross Radio. Fundraising party October 24th, Terry Good, still on time, still on target with having a fundraiser in the North Shore of Chicago. So if you can, go visit Terry's Facebook page, International Motocross Museum. There are tickets still available. It's a wonderful opportunity to be together for one night. There's going to be so many people there, Garrett Wolsink, Roger D. Coster, so many people who have maybe not been to America in many, many years and seen each other, including Harry Everett, Aki Janssen, so many people. So go over to the International Motocross Museum, check it out, maybe get some tickets. I'll see you there. Joe, you were wrong. Craig Smolin. Craig Smolin left me a message on Facebook, and he said to me last week when you were talking about that CZ, when you were describing it as one of the most reliable bikes to have for a vintage racer, you said that it had an electronic transmission. You're right, Craig. I did say that. I meant to say electronic ignition, that electronic ignitions were available. I did say electronic transmission. I'm sorry if anyone was out in the past week looking for an electronic transmission for a CZ. I apologize. Craig Smolin, thanks for keeping me honest. Marty Smith stickers. My friend Rich Vasallo still has these for sale for just $20. You can contact him at USA1899 at AOL.com. He also takes Venmo. He tells me he only has about 20 sheets left. 20 sheets like this. Marty Smith, commemorative stickers, get them while they last. I don't know if they're going to be making another batch or not. Rich Designs was making them for him in New Jersey. Wally Hackensmith donated some of the artwork. The money, of course, going to the children of Marty and Nancy Smith. Get them while you can. T-shirt, just $21.99 T-shirt like I'm wearing right here. Vintage Motocross Q&A. It's got our little logo and a Facebook thing on the back. We sold out of like 75 of them right away. We're gonna get a few more. I don't know how long they're gonna last. We might get them from a different supplier. I don't know what's gonna happen with them yet, but we're almost down to being out of these. If you want one, now's a good time to get them. $21.99. The link is in the show description. Just go on there, click $21.99. You'll get a shirt sent to you just like this. Vintage Motocross Q&A. This is Jordan's deal. So let's support Jordan Woodward. I want to thank FastGuyStuff.com for supplying us with stickers every week for every bike that comes in to the Moto Showcase. When you get a moment, go to FastGuyStuff.com. Thanks, Sean Gomes. Sponsorship opportunities are still available. Just like the one you see here from Nightmare Racing, Full Circle, Vinco, Preston Petty. We still have some room left. If you'd like to become a sponsor for the show, inbox me. I'll get you a proposal, and we'll get you a package that we can put together for you, something based on your budget. We're reaching at least 20,000 people a week we might even hit 100,000 for the month, this month. A lot of people are sharing it. It's on YouTube now. So you can, I don't know where you're going to get that kind of exposure. I mean, you think about it. If you have a business or you're selling something on Facebook, how many places can you yourself go post your product? How many groups can you go in and hit 20,000 people without becoming a pain in the neck to the administrator of the group? You don't have to do that. I'll do it for you. Get in touch with me, send me a message in the inbox, and we'll get you something put together that fits your budget. I want to thank everybody who watched Vintage Motocross Q&A tonight. Jordan, Chelsea, Susie, thanks for help putting the show together. And don't forget to listen to our radio show on Sunday, Vintage Motocross Radio, where our guest will be Jim Hawley. That's it for this evening. Thanks again for watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. Gino, come here, boy. Come on, Jim.